gifted and black.
You're on, ladies.
Hi, everybody. Before we start, I'd like to take a moment to honor these ancestral grounds that we are collectively gathered upon and support the resilience and strength that all the Indigenous people have shown worldwide. We are currently joining today online from our home, San Diego, which is on the traditional unceded territory of the Kumeyaay people in San Diego and unceded territory of Piscataway people in Maryland. So I'd first like to introduce myself. I'm Nene Okolo, and my sister Ekene.
Yeah, I'm Ekene Okolo, and we will be your moderators for today's Black Excellence webinar. We just wanted to welcome you all to the NAACP and SDCOE celebration of Black Excellence series, which is a 3-session series that will happen for the next Thursdays during Black History Month, the next 2 Thursdays, excuse me. We are excited and honored to be the moderators of this great celebration of Black excellence in our community.
We have a wonderful hour planned for you today, and we'll be leading with Miss Alyce Smith Cooper, who will open up our space with a few poems, and we will follow that with a discussion from Dr. Joi Spencer from San Diego University.
So I'm just going to go ahead and give you some background on Miss Alyce Smith Cooper. So she's known as the Golden Brown Fairy Godmother, the ancestral storyteller, Reverend Alyce, and great-grandmother. Alyce wears all these roles and more with ease. Some know her as Reverend, registered nurse, poet, actress, or community activist. Along with 2 co-authors, she has written the Gumbo Pop poems available on Amazon.com. And recently she was named Poet Laureate of the Military Museum of San Diego. No matter how you know Alyce, there is always a story and a smiling word of encouragement included in the interaction. Alyce has told stories across the United States, Puerto Rico, and the Bahamas at schools, libraries, museums, and campfires under the stars, at family reunions and corporate boardrooms. She is always ready to educate, excite, and invite you to tell your stories about your own journey. She's been invited to join the ranks of San Diego Culture Bearers by the African American Museum of Fine Art. And most recently, in November 2021, she was named by the California Arts Council a Legacy Artist Fellowship awardee. So I'm just going to give Reverend Alyce Smith Cooper the floor.
Thank you so very much to you amazing young women and to all of the organizers and coordinators. I can't tell all of the names, so I won't start, but I know that they're going to be acknowledged for all of their courage and invincibility for doing what they're doing today. And so I thank you for having me to be a part of this. The people that I've been in touch with were Dr. Fabiola Bagula and Dr. Stephen Dorsey. And there are others whose names I'm certain I'm not pronouncing exactly correctly, but Katrina Hassan Hamilton is one of those people, and all of you that have been involved. I want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you not just for myself, you can see me, but I stand as a representation of those people upon whose shoulders I stand. And so I acknowledge my creator, the God of all, the I am. I acknowledge my ancestors, those people whose bitter struggles and joyful laughter have formed a pathway for me. I acknowledge those that are in my age group, which is considerably seasoned insofar as the people that I see on the screen. But I can assure you that the seasoning is good, and I'm real glad about it. And of course, I want to acknowledge those that are in the generations behind me. For fortunately, in my lifetime and in my family, there have been 3 generations that have known 5 generations in our family. And I currently stand in that position. I am a great-great-grandmother And so therefore, I also acknowledge those that are yet unborn, because they're already here. When you stand, when you come in with your first cry of joyfulness, the next generation comes in with you because they're in your gonads. You look up that word, it's a great medical word. So I acknowledge all, because we are all in this thing called life. We are absolutely in it together, because there's no separating us, just in case you hadn't figured that one out. And a thing that I love about celebrating our history is the fact that we get the opportunity to speak it forth as it is. And that means we do not limit the time that we celebrate it. So I'm giving everybody permission to celebrate your history, our history, the history of this world, every single moment of every single day. Do not be limited in any way by any calendar. Only be limited by your passion for sharing the love, the compassion, the creativity that has brought you thus far. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod. That's what James Weldon Johnson told us years ago in that poem that we have taken to our hearts as what we call lift every voice and sing. And then when I come to this particular season of time, February, that has been designated by others for us at this time as the time that we celebrate African American Black history, I just like to let you know, we do not only have to read Maya Angelou's poem, And Still I Rise, because it's my consideration that, not that I'm not going to acknowledge her, yes, I am, but I think she was speaking prophetically, not about herself. And still I rise? Yes, she had already risen when she wrote the poem. She was speaking to those that were coming behind her. So I would definitely like to speak that word into existence today, into your hearts. I'm going to be followed by extremely accomplished and well-educated and extremely passionate educators that are going to be speaking about their thoughts as they matriculated. But I'd like to just share a couple of quotes by the ancestor, Dr. Maya Angelou, that I believe she was speaking to you, especially as it speaks of self-empowerment. And I'm sharing from this book because I think it's so beautiful. Can you see that? Isn't that a great caricature of her? And the little book is called, it was given to me for a Kwanzaa gift by my granddaughter, and it's called A Pocket Maya Angelou Wisdom. And so I think that if she were talking to those of you that are moderating this program today, she would have said, the thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so you can be the rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Somebody who may not look like you, may not call God the same name you call God, if they call God at all. May not dance your dances or spark your light bulb or speak your language, but you be a blessing to somebody. I believe that you are, and I believe that you will continue to be. And you may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. So am I inviting you to tell your story? You betcha. There would be no way that a storyteller would not. So my hope is that you are encouraged to look within. If it hasn't already sprung forth and burst out into a shower of amazing fireworks, then look for that to happen, because that's my prophetic pronouncement to you. I believe that the passion that lives within you can never be extinguished based upon where you come from and to whom you belong. And so I would like to share this poem. I call it the inaugural poem, even though she had written many poems before that. But this is the poem that Amanda Gorman, they call her the youth poet laureate. I just call her the poet laureate, that she read at the inauguration of the now president. When the day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, the sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And the norms and nations of what just isn't always just ice. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl, descended from slaves and raised by a single mother, can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine. But that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to form a union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of men and women. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first. We must first put our differences aside. I'm going to say that again. It just sounds so good to me. We lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first. We must put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another, to seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew. That even as we hurt, We hoped that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together victorious. Not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promise. The hill we climb, if only we dare. It's because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into. And how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can periodically be delayed, it can never permanently be defeated. In this truth, in this faith, we trust. For while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour. But within it, we found the power to author a new chapter, a new chapter, a new book, a new world. To offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be. A country that is bruised, but whole. Benevolent, but bold. Fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens, but one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and change our children's birthright, then love becomes our legacy. So let us leave behind a country better than the one which we were left. Every breath from my bronze-pounded chest will rise as this wounded world moves into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the windswept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we will step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be. We Climb Together by Amanda Gorman. Thank you very much for allowing me the time to be with you. Hopefully, we've opened the door for the next amazing speaker. And I want to just say, God bless you and God keep you. Thank you for allowing me to be with you today. I'll turn it back over to our wonderful program processors.
Thank you so much for the beautiful poetry readings, Reverend Cooper. That was such a powerful way to start the event. Next, we'll be hearing from Dr. Joi Spencer about assets-based celebration, where the focus is building on the strengths of young Black people to guide and light the way to a more powerful future. So a little bit about Dr. Joi Spencer. She is interim dean and professor of mathematics education in the School of Leadership and Education Sciences, also known as SOLS, at the University of San Diego. Dr. Spencer's work is centered on educational equity in higher and K-12 education, and her work has resulted in the launch of the doctoral program in Education for Social Justice, the implementation of school-wide professional development on anti-racism, and SOL's first diversity postdoctoral fellows program. Dr. Spencer's research investigates the mathematics learning opportunities of African-American and other minoritized youth. And along with colleagues, Drs. Perla Myers and Odesma Dalrymple, she runs the STEAM Academics interactive summer learning labs for middle and high school students from underserved communities in San Diego. And so the goal of these academics is to shift the narrative and outcomes of Black and Latinx students in mathematics and science. Spencer is also co-principal investigator on the NSF grant, Bridging the World of Work and Informal STEM Education. And she recently submitted a $3.1 million NSF grant on racial equity in STEM. Both studies seek to understand and build affirming and liberatory STEM learning experiences for Black, Latinx, and other minoritized youth. And Dr. Spencer recently chaired the editorial board for the Journal for Research in Mathematics Education and is the president of the California Association of Mathematics Teacher Educators. Her most recent publication, Access, Power, and Participation in Mathematics Classrooms, captures the role of observation in advancing equity in the teaching and learning of mathematics. Her forthcoming book, No Place at the Table, Anti-Black Racism in Schools, will be published by Teachers College Press. So without further ado, I present to you Dr. Joi Spencer.
Wow, thank you so much. I didn't realize you're going to read the whole bio, so it's a little overwhelming. But thank you so much for having me. I hope this can be a time when we can have some dialogue with one another. And I'm just honored to be here. I'm honored to be here with the County Office of Education. These two young women who are, when I see you, I see our future. And I see the reason why I do the work that I do. So I want to start off by just saying that I'm going to show you a little presentation. It is not very long because I really hope that we'll be able to use the bulk of our time to have dialogue. If that's okay? And I'm going to share a screen. And I know a lot of this is really, folks are often, they wonder like, how did you get to where you are? And I think that's really, really important. Because people often see a finished product, but they don't understand that that finished product took years of sacrifice and years of of striving. And so I want to just call that out for a minute. I'm going to talk a little bit about my own background. I'm going to read something to you. So I'm going to do a few things. All right. So give me a second to get my screen shared. Okay, almost there. So much. Okay. Let me start the share. I'm going to put it on. I'm almost there. Slideshow. All right. All the photos and all the art you see in my presentation are Black art and Black photography. I think it's really important for us to lift up incredible artists. And I love art. So, what you see behind me, this is a quilt from Gee's Bend. an incredible group of women in Alabama who do incredible quilting. This is our heritage. The photo you see on this first presentation is John Dow. This presentation is, this photograph is called Cotton. This is our heritage as Black people. It's not anything to be ashamed of, but when we look at this, this is our heritage and where we came from. I want to say a little bit, because this is February. I always have to do this. I want to give honor to our ancestors. I want to talk just a tiny bit about Black History Month, just so we all know. It was established in 1926. It was 1 week at that time. It was chosen. People say, why is it always the shortest month? That's not why it was chosen. It was chosen because it's the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. Its founder was Carter G. Woodson. And Woodson, he wanted to, every year, he wanted to assess white America's commitment to its professed ideals of freedom. And so he, year after year, as this Black History Week, Negro History Week, as it was called, was acknowledged, he was testing the waters to try to see, okay, where are we now, right? So every February was an opportunity to get a sense of where are we now. In the 1960s, the Negro History Week was expanded to Negro History Month and was changed to Black History Month, the name Black. In 1976, it received national recognition. That was the bicentennial. And then in 1986, which also happened to be the first year that Martin Luther King's holiday was celebrated, it became National Black History Month. So thank you for giving me just a second to give a bit of history about Black History Month. I believe that our heritage, it shapes everything that we should do, and it shapes me. My own history is profound, and the longer I live and the more I learn about what my folks had to go through to get me where I am, the more proud I am and the stronger I am. My research really deals with this idea that racism shapes educational outcomes, period. We can look at achievement scores from now until the, whoever comes home. My argument is that racism, even in places where we think racism does not exist, that racism shapes educational outcomes. That's foundational. Quickly, racism is this philosophy based on a contempt for life. It's an arrogant belief and assertion that one's race is the center, or it should be the object of devotion and is higher than others. Also, racism is a system of advantages based upon race. And then finally, I want to make sure we're clear, race is a social, not a biological construct. In other words, race is something that Americans and actually many folks around the world have said is real, but the reality is it's not biological. It's something that we make a decision about. And so, so much of my research, so much of my work, even as a young kid, was noticing. I grew up in South Central LA, and I noticed race as a kid. And it was that noticing that brought me to where I am today. And my real challenges with the big differences I saw between the kind of educational opportunities given to folks in my own community and the educational opportunities given to others. I was bused. I was part of that big wave of busing in Los Angeles. And as I was bused, it became very clear to me that teachers saw me as different than, that they would talk down to me, that they would insult my intelligence. These were experiences that were in here as just a little girl. I didn't have the words, I didn't have the language. But over time, I started putting them together, and it painted this story for me. Like, why is it? Why are these differences present? And over time, it really became my life's work, quite frankly. I'm going to, let me move forward. I deeply believe that the lack of success of Black students must be understood. And we here in San Diego, it is unfortunate, but we are still producing outcomes for Black students that are unacceptable. But my argument is that it must be understood within systems of oppression instead of the pathologizing of Black bodies and the marginalization of communities. it's important that educators reflect on their own philosophies. It's one thing to say something, but when you reflect on what you truly believe, things change. Okay? And so they must reflect on their own philosophy and practices when it comes to the education and schooling of Black children. Derek Bell, we have all this hatred toward critical race theory today. Derek Bell, who was an attorney and a legal scholar, he used the term critical race theory because his job, I think this is really important, Derek Bell's job was to implement Brown versus Board of Education. So Brown versus Board of Education happened in 1954, and it basically said all the schools across the country have to be desegregated. And almost in totality, every state, every city, and every town fought against it. Well, Derek Bell was an attorney, and his job was to basically go around to all these states and cities and towns and to enforce Brown versus Board of Education, desegregation of schools. Near the end of his life, he called Brown the magnificent mirage. And he basically argued that racism is so deeply entrenched that it's going to take something very different. And so his notion that critical race theory, that racism is entrenched in our society, is part of his life's work, and it's quite informative, and it speaks to my own experience in school. Let me just share one more piece about the work that I currently am engaged in, and my research colleagues, I think some of them are on the phone right now, is actually, that should actually say the STEAM Academy at the University of San Diego. We decided about 8 years ago that we wanted to not only complain, but be a force for change here in San Diego and San Diego County. And we said, we're going to put a line in the sand, and we're going to change the way that we see things on our campus, University of San Diego. Every summer, it will be full of young people, full of high schoolers and middle schoolers. And I hardly ever saw youth of color ever on that campus. And the summertime is where the change happens. That's where you get all the extra educational things that you can't get during the school year. And it's distressing. It was distressing to me. And so we kind of put a line in the sand and said, we're going to create the type of experience and summer experience where youth of color can be on our campus. They can be free to be who they are, and they're going to learn and engage in deep mathematical thinking, scientific thinking, technology, engineering. You're just seeing a few pictures as you look here. And another piece that was big to us was joy, not just learning because you didn't do good during the school year, so now we're going to drill and kill you for the whole summer. Joy was central. I hate to say it, but there's so much joy that has been taken out of school and out of learning. Learning is joyful, and it should be. And so we said every day, in addition to all the work they'll do with us, we will have an hour of play. You see the students in the middle on the green grass, right? The green grass should be something that serves all of us, not just some of us. And that there will be play and there will be joy in the work that we do. Finally, let me talk a little bit about my work, which is about the creation of affirming STEM spaces. STEM, mathematics, and science, they continue to be spaces. These are gatekeepers that continue to keep Black youth, Latinx youth, immigrant youth out of the next stage of their lives. I could give you lots of details, and here in San Diego, the issue is tragic, and it not only affects who's going to college, it affects if you go into the military, what kind of job you're going to get. It affects it has a huge impact, the type of mathematics that you take, the type of opportunities that you have. Currently, UC San Diego, 1.56% of the students at UC San Diego are African American. 1.56%. That university is supposed to serve us here in San Diego. Why is that? Well, a big reason is what happens in STEM classes and mathematics classes, because if you don't do well in those, you're not going to be able to matriculate into a place like UC San Diego. My goal is the creation of affirming STEM spaces. When I walk into that calculus class, I remember when I was a kid, people asking me, are you sure you're supposed to be here? Is this the right class? Is that where you're supposed to be? When I started teaching math at USD, I had students ask me, and I was the teacher. I had students ask me, am I in the right room? I was coming to teach, and they were questioning whether I was even the right student for that class. So racism around STEM is real, unfortunately. But some of the things that we have been doing to create spaces where students feel affirmed, we engage the families of our students, not just our students, but we bring family into all of our work. You should see the times when our parents and families come together. They do engineering competition with their own kids. It's so powerful and beautiful to see. We use more than one language, where we use Black English, we use Spanish in our camp. Whatever language you come to us with, that's the language that we accept. You don't have to be something different than who you are to be part of our work. We involve our own families, my own kids, my brother, the children of my co-founders. They're all part of this work because we are a family people and we're a family-oriented organization. And I think young people need to see that family should be a part of your learning. It's not just something that individuals do. We seek out and we hire Black, Latinx, Southeast Asian, refugee, DACA. We seek them out all year long to run our camp. People tell us all the time, you're not going to find, how could you possibly find, Black folks who are getting their degrees in STEM to run your camp? Yet every year we have a veritable Wakanda of Black and brown STEM majors doing this work and helping us to run our camps. We invoke the storytelling and counter storytelling. So we have youth share with us their own experiences in math classrooms, and it's very powerful. And finally, we notice the Black people on our campus. Oftentimes, University of San Diego is not a space that has many African Americans, but when we do have faculty there, we do have staff, and when we see them, we work with them. We say, who are your nieces and nephews? Who are your children? And they are invited to be part of this work as well. So I'm going to stop there because I've already said a lot. I know it's a lot. You don't ever give a professor the mic because that's their job, right? They talk for a living. But thank you so much. And I look forward to the conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Spencer, for giving us insight on your important work of helping to uplift Black youth through education. So we had a few of our own questions. We just wanted to, I know you gave us some background on your story, but we wanted to understand who in your life, if you could highlight some people in your life that you saw as assets as a young person that got you to where you are today.
Thank you. That's an amazing question. At every stage of my life, God has always sent angels. It's always been somebody there. Definitely my mother, without any question. She just always told us, if anybody can do it, you can do it. That was her message to us. If it was ever done, then you can do it. I mean, do you know what it's like at 5 years old to hear that, where you're like, I couldn't do this, it's so hard. And she said, has it ever been done? Yeah, well, then you can do it. So I grew up with that in my life, in my head. My family, my mother and father were divorced, but I had both sides of my family were integral to my life. And they all believed in education. They would ask me for my report card. Okay, for an A, you get $5, a B, you get $4, whatever it was. That speaks to a kid because you realize that's important to them. So that shaped me. And I had some incredible educators. When I was in high school, I was so fortunate. I was at a high school that was 98% kids of color. And the teachers treated us and spoke to us and cared for us as if we were their own children. And they treated us like young adults. My teacher, Miss McGee, who was this amazing sociologist, she taught me about STEM and mathematics, but how mathematics can be used for social purposes, not just for building bombs, but how might I use mathematics as a tool to help me understand how the unemployment rates and how to shift society and societal issues. So she was pivotal in my life and helping me understand the social realities where I was living and why it was like that. And then most recently, you heard that I'm about to publish a book right now. My professor, Mike Rose, he passed away about 6 months ago, but he taught me how to write well and how to write at a level that I can actually get things published. And I have so much respect for him. And my teachers and my family are people across every race and every background. And I just have so much respect for that. And I do believe that we're all in this together.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely agree with just all of us coming together and really making sure that everyone succeeds through helping each other out. This next question that I had for you is, so I wanted to know, how do you think that we can create student learning spaces that affirm and develop undergrad/graduate students of color?
Thank you so much for that question. I spent the first part of my career as a middle school teacher, and now the last, all these years have been on a university campus. And what I know for sure is that what happens in the high school is just a breath away from what's happening on university campuses, and that young people often come on campus and they make a decision quickly. Is this for me or is it not for me? And if you can see yourself in the space of your campus, your university campus, then you'll stay and you'll stick it out. But if it's already 1,000 points against you, right? So you got to have a space that feels comfortable. It feels like I'm seen here. It feels like I'm loved here. It feels like I can laugh in this space. I can find people who care about me. So there are some technical things that need to be there. There need to be Black faculty. There need to be Black administrators, and there need to be staff workers who are from the community. So those are givens. But beyond that, there needs to be a place that people can call home. I went to Stanford University and we had the Black House. We just call it the Black House. And that was the place on campus. And it was a little house, to be honest with you. It was the Black Community Service Center, but I'm telling you, that's where we hung out. It was our space. We didn't have to pretend. We got to just be ourselves in that space. And I think that if you want to create affirming spaces, you have to have spaces where folks don't have to be on the stage, where they can just be themselves, and where they can find the food that they like, when they can figure out how to get their hair done. It wasn't like that at Stanford. Oh my God. The things we had to do to figure out how to get our hair done was a Herculean task. But just the fact that we had a space for us together was really, really, really important. Other things, I could say a lot more about this, but knowing that you have people who are intellectually like you is also really important, because you're at a university. And I think folks who go to university really, they love to learn, they like to learn. And so you need to have a lot of opportunities to investigate and learn about the things that are of interest to you as a scholar. And there needs to be space for you to study those issues. And those things should not be marginalized. I studied, my honors thesis as an undergraduate was these new African-American, all Black male public schools. Well, I had to search around to find a professor who would sponsor that research. Thank God there was a professor there who did. But what would happen if I was at a university that didn't have the support from my intellectual interest? Well, then, that would be a challenge. So those are just some of the things.
Ms. Cooper, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
No, I didn't want to add anything to it, but I did want to ask a question if that's permissible.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to ask, I saw one of the bullet points on one of your slides is the fact that you enlist storytelling and you encourage counter storytelling. And my question to you was, how many different ways do you enlist storytelling?
So thank you for that question. And let me tell you what we do. So the counselors for our STEAM Academy we want them to be representative of the students that we service in the academy. So the academy is for middle and high school kids. The counselors, we call them pod leaders, are all college and graduate students who are getting STEM degrees. And they're also teachers who are early on in their career. So when we first started the academy, we knew that it was pivotal to have those type of counselors to serve in this camp, but we weren't really making full use of them like we should have. And so one of the things that we require is that each one of those young people, they're, like I said, they're from undergraduate all the way up to new teachers. Sometime throughout the camp, they are given the floor and they have to share their story. They have to tell us, what was your story and what made you persist? And those moments when they are sharing those stories are so powerful because they are living counter narratives. Because, you know, you have kids who say, look, my parents were immigrants. They didn't even know what college was. I had to hide in order to apply to college, but I applied anyway. And then you have kids in the audience who are our campers shaking their head, you know, or you have kids who are sharing, I had a teacher who did not believe in me. They did not believe that I could actually succeed academically, but I persisted. And in the telling of their stories, they don't always see it, but they are strengthening all of us because we collectively realize this is the same, these stories are all our stories. And so we are strong people because we're still here. So that's really how we invoke storytelling.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm just sorry that I didn't hear you say that you had some professional storytellers to come in and help them tweak their skill.
We would love to have you. If that's that we will gladly have you. And you know, we do actually have a professor, and we can talk offline from the Department of Drama, and she actually comes in and teaches the youth. And we're a STEM camp. People think that STEM is separate from the arts and the social sciences. We don't draw those lines. So she comes in and she does work with the students to learn how to like you said, to learn how to tell a story, to learn how to act something out. It's very enriching.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question, Ms. Cooper. And Dr. Spencer, I just wanted to say that I relate very heavily to what you talked about for the college experience for Black students. And for me specifically, I am currently in college. I'm a junior at Johns Hopkins University, so it's a predominantly white space. There's very few Black students on campus, but it definitely means a lot to be able to see Black people in powerful positions. Like I had a professor who taught a neuroscience class who was a Black woman, and then I have a bunch of other public health courses. One of them is taught by 2 Black women, and so that was really empowering to see just like Black women in those spaces. And other, there's also Black men, of course, who teach at my school as well. And we have a lot of different spaces around campus for Black students to hang around. We're in Baltimore, so it's a bit easier to find braiders and everything for hair. But yeah, I just want to agree with what you said about the experience for Black college students.
Thank you. And congratulations on your academic achievement. Johns Hopkins is an amazing university.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, on that note of, you know, faculty and teachers and having diverse teachers, how, in your opinion, how do we create equity and justice focused faculty professional development?
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that question. I think sometimes we think that just because maybe a faculty member might be a person of color, or they might say something, that they actually get how to teach in a way that is equitable, or that they actually know how to enact and manifest. And they don't. We faculty need professional development. We all need, anyone in any space needs an opportunity to step back, reflect on their practice, their teaching in a safe space, and to learn how to do it better. So in the School of Education, the School of Leadership and Education Sciences, I have implemented sort of just this litany of professional development. And it has been so powerful to see faculty show up and doing things like looking at their syllabus and saying, okay, I say that I believe in diversity and equity, but what percentage of the readings on my syllabus are from scholars of color? That's huge. You know what kind of message that sends when you're telling me this is a DEI course, but everyone on your syllabus is white? I mean, that's those are things that stymie us. And then we are teaching faculty about racial identity development, about what their students of color might actually be experiencing as they are learning more about issues of race and racism. And a lot of our faculty have never examined their own racial identity. That's important. And they need a safe space to do it. Oftentimes I'll have my students say, can I come to the faculty professional development? And I tell them no, because faculty need a place. Now I'll say, yeah, we can develop one for the students, but faculty need a safe space where they can examine their issues and their challenges without having to be under the gaze of their students. I think that's fair. And I think it's also fair to expect that of students. But one of the things that I have done is not only implementing these wonderful professional development, but what I do is you can get badged as a faculty member. So if you complete the full series, you get a badge and it is announced to all the students in the school so that they can see, I committed time, hours of my time to learn and grow, and they get honored and acknowledged once a year. I think that's important because I think we need to have accountability between faculty and students. At least you know your faculty member is trying. And now for the faculty who don't have the badge, what can I say? You had the opportunity, you had all the courses that you could go to, we made them free to you. I also, they're free to my adjunct faculty, which I basically pay for to get the training. And those things that are really, really important. I also do one large professional development for the entire School of Education, staff, faculty, anyone who works in any way, from the custodian to the person who is doing the technology in our building. They're invited to this larger professional development where we're learning the basics of race, racism, diversity, equity, the basics, so that we can have common language across our building to be able to speak to one another with. Don't tell me that you are a champion of, yes, I'm anti-racism, but when a person of color walks into the building, you don't even look up to say hello. Okay, if you don't even look up to acknowledge them, then you don't understand step one of what anti-racism is. So anyway, we're working hard at it, and education. I'm an educator, so I believe if folks aren't doing right, folks don't understand, let's teach. And then at the end of that, if you still don't get it, okay, that's something different. But you have to at least provide the opportunity.
I definitely agree. And part of me and Nene's advocacy with our own organization, Black and PUSD, we advocated for like anti-bias trainings for staff and teachers. And I think with these trainings and giving them the space to kind of educate themselves on their own biases or other racial justice matters, it really gives them the opportunity to, kind of analyze the nuance in their everyday interactions with their students. And I know some teachers approached me and said, I never knew that, saying a student's name incorrectly and not really making the effort to, fix it was a really big deal. And now they know that, it makes the student not feel seen, but they've always been ever since the anti-bias trainings have been implemented, they've been putting in the work to improve themselves. And that's really good to see that improvement over time.
It's wonderful. That's awesome. Yes. I like what you said, putting in the work. You got to put in the work. You can't tell me that you just, you can't, this is not osmosis. It's work. It's work. And a lot of times the onus of the work falls on the students of color. And that's what I need. That's what we need to remove. The only work you should be doing in my graduate level class is trying to learn the material. But if you're trying to learn, does this person like me? Why don't they know my name? If you're doing all that, that's the extra intellectual work that is keeping you away from, right? And that's what all the stereotype thread and anyway, we can go into, the attribution theory. That's where all that comes from. So remove all that. Let me be able to just come here and learn the material. We can move on,
Absolutely.
Ms. Hamilton, did you want to add something to that or ask a question?
First off, I want to say excellent job moderating. You two are amazing, and we're so proud of your work. I do want to say, for the sake of time too, Ms. Cooper, you were beautiful. And if Dr. Spencer can give us some more information about not only her current book and how we can access that book, but also how we can get more information about her STEM camp, that would be great.
Great. Thank you so much. I just put the website, sandiego.edu/STEAM, in the chat box. And it's interesting right now, I've been working with the publishers. We're trying to hone in on the name, the title of our book. Right now it is No Place at the Table, Anti-Black Racism in Schools. That's where we are with the title of my book. It'll be out in a couple of months. As soon as I have pre-order available, I will get it to you all, and I hope you can get it out to the whole community, because it's a real labor of love. And the stories that we have compiled and what we have learned about the ways in which anti-racism affects the educational outcomes for youth is powerful. I'm not just saying that because I wrote the book. I'm saying it because it was revelatory to me writing the book. So as soon as I have that, I will get it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thank you so much, Dr. Spencer, for giving us insight into your work and how we can further promote STEM within Black children and other minority children. Thank you so much. We are running out of time, unfortunately, so we won't have time for a Q&A, but I do want to say thank you so much to everyone for coming out and just getting to hear from Ms. Cooper and her beautiful poetry, and Dr. Spencer and her insight on education and racial equity. Thank you so much for just coming out and enjoying Black excellence in this event. And thank you to the San Diego County Office of Education for allowing me and Ekene to moderate this wonderful event.
I will ditto that. And thank you all, our young Black excellence, and our barbecue phraseology, our seasoned Black excellence. Thank you all so much. You have given us so much insight and things to think about that we can take and use in our schools, and we appreciate you oh so much. Hopefully you guys will all make our next session, which is next Thursday, same bat channel, same bat time. We are going to have some more excellence in the house. With that, we want to thank you all for coming, and I'm going to play you guys out with some Jill Scott.
Hey.
Hey, oh, hey, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm taking my freedom, pulling it off the shelf, putting it on my chain, wearing it round my neck. I'm taking my freedom, putting it in my car, wherever I choose to go.